That's you, Mark.
Anytime, Mark.
Anytime you'd like to start.
Sorry, the soundboard is covering. The soundboard is covering Pete. All right, hey ballers, welcome to If These Balls Could Talk with the trio with Mo Flo, then the Joe Bros. That's right. This is Mark along with John and Pete. Did you get it? Did you get it?
The Jonas Brothers, dude.
The Jonas Brothers.
I get it now.
I just watched the one where you. What's the show that they let Frankie Jonas do? I forgot now. That show is actually way better than it has any business being. But yeah, so when we were watching the Jonas Brothers all spring.
I have no idea which one is Frankie. Anyway,
Frankie is actually really funny looking.
Yeah,
honestly, sorry, Frankie Jonas.
Is he the bonus Jonas that people like to call him?
Jonas.
Bonus Jonas.
So, as a kind reminder, if you like what you hear, please hit that subscribe button, or as Pete likes to say, tickle that little bell.
Tickle the bell.
Tickle the bell.
No one is tickling your
dirty.
bell.
Joining us tonight is our special guest, Mr. James William Smart. Welcome to the podcast, Will.
Hey, Will.
Hello. How's everyone doing today?
Doing good. There's been some fantastic weather going on. You guys have been getting it too, right?
Yes, it is glorious out here.
Yeah,
it's a shame that we only have like a week's worth of like extremely good weather. But anyway,
perfect fall weather.
John, how about you give us an update on how things are?
Jamie started school 2 weeks ago now. Also, it's her birthday. She's 11. Happy birthday, Jamie. And that's cool. We went to I have a big PTA thing that's going to happen on Saturday that will probably get rained out, so I have to figure out what to do about that. Work's awesome. I still am enjoying my CBD and feel great, and it's going great. How are you doing, Mark? How was your 30-second job trip that you went on last week?
So I went like 4 years without doing any kind of work trip, and in the last month I've been on 2. We've talked about the one in Dallas, and the last one I did was in Minneapolis. You guys would all be so proud of me. It was a giant nerd fest. So all we did was code. Was code.
You code?
So we were yes.
Hold on. You code?
Yeah, I SQL code.
You SQL code?
I SQL code. I know it's a hidden talent that I have.
That's a hidden talent. I like that.
So it's now this was my first opportunity to go to our corporate headquarters in Minneapolis too. So this was my first opportunity to go there, and I met a lot of people for the first time. When you're just talking to them over Zoom, they're just like 2-dimensional heads that you see on your computer screen. So
just like you're seeing right now.
Just like you're seeing right now.
All right, so I have a question for you. You mentioned you just met a lot of your coworkers for the first time in person. What was the most surprising thing after only seeing people on Zoom or Slack or whatever the little icons were? Like, what surprised you the most often about people?
That is a good question.
So one of the games that people like to play are, what height are you? Like, how tall are you? Because you don't know how tall a person is.
So that is exactly the experience that I just had, which was, you are you actually have a height, and you aren't just like a little sphere that's a constant diameter. That's really interesting. I didn't know that about you. Right? So had a lot of those conversations last week.
Pete, how about you? How about an update on someone else do it, please, because my hands aren't free.
I'm doing it.
We're waiting.
I didn't hear it.
Baby watch.
There we go.
We got a
I had the
duck
wrong
too.
thing.
It's close enough.
We got a duck.
It's fine. Oh man, Steph's been going through a pretty rough patch. Just
we're sorry, Steph.
All of her first trimester nausea and tiredness and exhaustion.
Has it come back?
Oh, worse, way worse.
Oh no!
It's like all day, and it's just not good. So we got that. We have a ton of stuff going on right now. A lot of prep, a lot of work to finish things up. So it's good.
You're going to Buffalo next weekend.
Crunch time. Yep, we got a shower coming up in Buffalo.
Very nice.
So that'll be fun.
Probably meet you there.
Probably.
Where are we drinking?
Beer.
Where? We're drinking beer in your mom's house?
Either the brewery, because that's
in the basement
right nearby, or Mamosers.
Ooh, let's drink in the brewery.
Well, I was thinking there are Mamosers. I do have
Both
a brewery.
Of those ideas are great.
There's a brewery that's just over a quarter mile from my parents' house. Like,
shout out to the Hamburg Brewery if you're listening.
Not a sponsor.
You can be a sponsor.
But you could be. was thinking there are Mammosers for some ridiculously hot wings and more beer.
I love it. I love this idea.
So one
There are
of the
hot
two.
wings in Buffalo.
My
I've
my
never
father-in-law is driving us all around while we drop the ladies off at the shower. So we're gonna do whatever he likes, and he likes beer.
Really,
Yeah,
the boys are gonna be out and about.
Mal
huh?
is driving, and Tim's gonna meet us. Hey, Tim.
Yep.
Hey, Tim.
It should be fun. So that's about it.
Okay.
Cool.
So let's get to know our friend Will, shall we? Now, Will, we all met in college many, many moons ago, and in fact, you, John, and I are all in the same fraternity.
And Pete should have been, but he was a slacker.
And Pete should have been. What would you say are some of the benefits of Greek life? And please share a memorable story if you can. Also, what would you say made our Greek experience different from the stereotypical one?
Boy, what were the benefits of Greek life? I think, it's really hard to sort of have perspective on that when you went through it, right? So you have to sort of get an idea of what other people missed out on. And I think it was that, extended family type community that was really probably the sort of differentiator for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we still talk pretty constantly.
Yeah.
I
that blows people's minds when I tell them
Oh.
that we have like a group of like 12 people we talk to pretty much daily.
Oh, absolutely. People just don't understand. And, I don't have that connection with anyone that I went to high school with. Very, very few sort of coworkers over the years I've had that sort of connection with. But, boy, you guys, I just can't seem to get rid of you.
No, we're like your growth.
It's pretty amazing. And
Like a good growth.
The kind
mean,
you don't want to apply.
grown
some
to
kind
love
of
it, right?
medical cream to.
Medical growth.
Yeah, but yeah, I think that's a really big thing that a lot of people just don't get from college, right? They don't have that community or family that you get with a fraternity, something like that. So.
What I liked about our fraternity too is we had a medium size fraternity.
Yeah.
It wasn't too small, but it wasn't ginormous either.
So you knew everybody.
And you knew everyone. I always remember the story, John. I don't remember if this was during our freshman year. It may have been before Will was there, but there was like one of the huge fraternity on campus, and there was a big fight that happened. And it was like outside. It was in downtown Troy or something like that. And then they later find out that they're in the same fraternity.
I remember that
Right.
story.
Yeah,
Crazy,
yeah.
right?
Crazy.
Yeah, that would never have happened in our fraternity.
No, you were too small to fight.
No.
We'd
Everyone
have our
knew-
fight, but we knew each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say you would fight, but you would know exactly who that person was.
and that's why you were fighting.
Right.
No, and the other thing was that everyone, it was such a small fraternity that like really everyone had to chip in. There was no, like, everyone had something to do, right? I can imagine if you're in a really large fraternity, there's definitely some people that can just sort of go by without having to participate that much. We did not have that luxury, and I think that actually turned out to be great. And that was kind of the you said a funny story, and I'm going to pick a funny story that is probably on the weirder side. But we had
That's what I'm looking for, actually.
We had one fall rush event that was canceled, and that was laser tag. And I just have see all I have to do is say laser tag, and Mark starts laughing. He knows where this is going. John knows where this is going. I'm pretty sure I was the bursar at the time, and so we had this event that was canceled, and so we had laser tag funds to spend. And for the next 3.5 years,
It was
everyone
wild.
was like, "Oh, we'll just spend that laser tag money."
We need money? Yeah, we'll just
Like-
spend the laser
Yeah.
tag money.
Like that money has been spent 18 times. It's been spent
It's not like
18
laser
times.
tag was expensive, right? It was like $100, and we're like, yeah, that's gonna go really far.
It was a couple $100 of money that we planned that we didn't spend. And boy, people could just not get it through their heads that we could only spend it. Like, even though we didn't spend it on laser tag, that was it. We still only got to spend it once.
Is
So,
it,
yeah, that,
it's not like a
that
starter bread
was-
that just keeps growing when you put it aside.
I gotta
Yeah.
tell you, I referenced that laser tag money story so many times in so many different scenarios. It's awesome.
and it's just especially with our fraternity, like it was half family and half how do I run a volunteer organization, and holy crap, has that helped me through the last
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
few decades or so. Very few people have that sort of experience, and meanwhile I'm just like, okay, yeah, let
And
me
just,
tell
like,
you about the laser
skin of
tag
your
fund.
pants creative planning, right? You're just like, wow, we have like 50% less money than we need and 100% less participation than we need, but like, let's just figure it out.
And I think you really basically described like every volunteer organization everywhere, right? So that's
Like the
valuable
PTA, I
experience.
talk about all the time. Yeah,
Valuable experience.
for sure, for sure.
Pete,
I
why don't
think
you go?
we can move on.
Alrighty.
was a good stop.
Oh, I had the thing open. All right.
Oh, Pete,
I
be
know.
better at broadcasting.
I'm
Jesus.
not. This is why, because now I'm like blinded by this thing.
Blinded,
Blinded by the light.
So
Pete loves it when we sing copywritten songs.
yeah,
It makes
it's
him
fine.
really happy.
I guess.
Well, if it's
If it's
bad enough, it
demonetized,
doesn't
it
trigger the
doesn't
filters, right?
Yeah, it doesn't trigger the filters. It doesn't
That's
sound
good.
anything like the song, so it's great.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
one of the that's a lyric that I can never get right in my head because it always sounds like rev up like a douche. to
That's
me.
what I always thought it said.
Yes.
Revved up like a douche.
But it's
in the middle
not.
of the night.
That's not the lyric.
I literally
That's
just
not
had
the
that
lyric.
experience like yesterday or the day before when it was on. I was just like, is he saying douche for real?
So speaking of being revved up like a douche in the middle of the night, so we haven't really talked to Will since he's been to Prague. I have no idea how that correlates, but just go with it. Why did you go? I mean, this is an amazing trip, right? What did you do there? I can imagine a lot of beer. And is this your first time out of the country on a significant trip?
So it was a work trip. It was our sort of first in a while annual offsite, because those had sort of stopped because of COVID. And it's the first one where I've been with the company, and it was the first time meeting everyone in my group, which was great. And why I was asking Mark about what he felt like about people
Right,
on
'cause you're
Slack
permanent work from
and
home,
their
right?
heights. I am permanent work from home, and it's fantastic. I only get to meet my coworkers at conferences and things like that. So it was really great. So I mean, that was like
is your company based in the Silicon Valley? I just don't even know.
they just moved headquarters to Santa Clara.
Okay.
So it
That's
is
a good place to have a tech company.
yeah, it's technically a Swedish company with headquarters in Santa Clara and Sweden.
Cool,
Nice.
cool.
But yeah, so I was able to add some extra days to a work trip. So I got a lot of plenty of drinking, just walking around sort of the old town of Prague, catching the sights, eating the local food, all that
That's so
fun
cool.
stuff.
With the language barrier, I'm sure it was kind of just surprises all the time.
No problem.
No problem?
No problem.
Nice.
Everybody in the whole world can speak
Okay.
English.
No,
Such a loser country.
no, not everyone, right? In the touristy parts, absolutely. But the very first thing that I did when I landed was I got into my hotel, got showered, and there was this beer, like local brewery festival, part of a farmer's market thing. So it's like 4:00. on a Saturday. I have no idea what I'm doing. Figure out how to use the subway. Get out to this place. Show up with some currency that I had exchanged. So I had cash, and all I could do was point at things because no one there spoke a lick of English, and it was absolutely wonderful. I had all sorts of beer. I had some sort of meal that was like ground beef and rice stuffed in a boiled sauerkraut leaf. That was kind of amazing.
That's called stuffed cabbage.
But it wasn't stuffed cabbage.
No, well,
right?
there are variations of stuffed cabbage like
I've
that.
had stuffed cabbage, right? But it was, gołąbki, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. It wasn't that.
Okay.
It was different, right? Just a different take on all this stuff, and ordering beers by pointing, and I may or may not have stolen a mug, but it's okay.
Borrowed to America. You liberated it.
No, because later the hotel staff stole it from me.
Oh, I heard that's your mug that broke.
No, I mean it didn't break. It was just cool. It had this cool logo on it, and so for all of your listeners in Europe, if anyone wants to order a mug for me and ship it to the U.S., I have their website. I figured it out.
I will take that email. That's awesome.
No,
amazing.
But yeah, I mean, what were the other questions? Oh, so it's not my first time traveling abroad, but it's my first time in a long time. Last time was actually Austria, which had almost as good beer, but if you tell that to the Czechs, they will probably hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have to get your... God?
Because they're like, yeah, German beer is okay, right? But
did you have to get your passport renewed? Because it took Jamie forever. Apparently, the biggest push on passports in the last 10 years, because everybody's passport expired in COVID years, and everybody was like had the travel itch, so everybody renewed this year. From what
literally, as soon as I found out that this travel was abroad, like in February, I renewed my passport.
Did you get a stamp? Do they even do that anymore?
Yeah.
Some do.
There's a little stamp in the back.
Fucking cool.
But yeah, so
I got Iceland to stamp me twice for some reason.
Because they're so nice.
One's going in and one's going out.
Must have been special.
Super dirty.
Yeah, and weird like security questions getting on the plane to go home. They actually asked me to describe the bathroom in the hotel that I was in as like proof that I wasn't just like lying about where I was.
Wow.
Wait, is there something different about Czechoslovakian bathrooms?
Right. So like I'm in a
Does the water in the toilet just go straight down?
It's an American hotel. You want to know what the worst part about the bathroom was? All the light switches were on the outside.
Oh.
What?
Huh.
So you would go in and close the door and be like, well, this is no good. Yeah, I've got to go outside again to turn on the light.
Is that what you told customs?
Absolutely. I was like, you wouldn't believe this, but the light switches were on the outside.
So is that
like,
an American customs agent or a Czechoslovakian customs agent?
Czech, and their reaction was essentially like, get the hell out of my country.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make fun of our outside bathroom switches?
Which is fine. That's like, that was after like 7 or 8 days. And I was like, all right, it's time for me to go home.
You've had your
How to tell you're an American when you're by not saying you're an American?
I mean, it was pretty obvious that I was an American anyway, so.
I mean, you're pretty American.
Sam,
all right,
that's okay.
Let's move on. And so I'm going to use this opportunity because we're never going to have another IT professional on the show. First off, I wanted to congratulate you about the new-ish job. What's the best part about going back to the public sector, or the private sector from the public sector? And also, can you explain to the folks in the back what a YubiKey is, and why is multi-factor authentication so important?
I was going to prepare and actually grab a YubiKey, and I don't actually have one handy.
I'm very excited about this. When I saw this question, I was like, I want to know what a YubiKey is.
This is one of our tiny ones.
Whoa,
so bite size. I did not say that out loud, did I? Oh, no. We talked about that. Okay,
it's all right. Last episode, our guest said he loved a big D. So
that was very funny.
Oh yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot, actually.
Just over a year now.
Celebration of business.
Yeah, I guess the 19th. I started at this at the time it was this this sort of on the mature side startup, right? All sort of privately held and wacky stock options, weird, all this stuff that I had, no concept of, right? Coming in from the public sector. And just sort of a very interesting company. Had a real culture, actually had a pretty decent mission. So, and a lot of people that were actually excited about working every day, right? Like that's a huge difference between sort of the smallish private sector and the public sector where I was. But
Good morale can make
that
a
was
huge difference.
Yeah. Morale and again,
Pete
people
had that experience
actually
too, right?
Oh yeah, I went
From people liking your jobs to people not liking their jobs,
and then
the
back
difference
to
that
people
makes on business.
and back to people liking my jobs or liking. So yeah, it does make a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference. I mean, one of the things that I said was that I sort of left my job because I couldn't help them anymore, and I can actually help people at this job. It's actually really cool.
All right.
That's amazing.
And even more exciting, get out your air horns for this one. I'm not in operations anymore. Sorry, John.
Operations.
Oh,
so
it
bad.
is such a
So
change.
bad.
And, let me know when you want to escape operations and we can talk.
They just promoted me. I can't escape anymore.
He's too deep now.
Too deep.
I mean, congratulations, but also, plan that exit strategy.
That is a truth fact.
So,
true story. So let's talk about the tech of it. What does the YubiKey do?
Oh yeah, so it's and again, I don't have the iconic one here, but this is the tiny one that we make. And it's just a tiny little device that does multi-factor authentication. So so if you do those little 6-digit codes that you pull up on your phone, or pass keys. Heard of a pass key? All this stuff. You can store pass keys on a YubiKey. It also supports smart cards, which are very popular in the federal space as sort of a, you just have
that's pretty cool. Smart card support that's very cool.
A card and pin. Yeah, that was a.
Does it hold the certificates on it?
Yeah. Yep. It sort of emulates the whole smart card and smart card reader package, and it's a nice, really slick solution. And it's
DOD,
not
like federal DoD supported. Like Rick uses them.
Yeah, actually, yes. So one of the things that we can do is they call it derived PIV, and it's not quite the PIV badges that everyone has, but it is sort of a because it doesn't have your picture and your face on it. It's sort of a lesser credential, but it still works with all the stuff.
I don't miss those things at all. For the listeners and for Mark and Pete, federal sector, everybody gets a smart card that has to sign things, and so in a simple way, the smart cards have things on them, and you give your certificate to someone, and they give them your certificate back, and then the certificates know each other, and then you can sign things, essentially.
Cool.
That's a very sort of speed run of smart cards, but yeah,
speed run.
Hey, well,
very fast.
It's good top level description.
But I mean, everybody at GD, I used to work at General Dynamics. Everybody at GD had one because that's how you log into your computers. That's how you sign PDFs. That's how you do almost anything.
Yep. It's I mean, the federal government has had this whole passwordless thing nailed down for more years than I can count. It's one of the very few ways the federal government was actually far and away ahead of the private sector in terms of IT. But yeah, the sort of the new thing that we're pushing now is passkeys. and part of that is the FIDO2 standard. And I think what was it this morning? GitHub announced that they support passkeys now.
That's super cool.
Nintendo supports passkeys.
Oh,
Of
yeah, I
course,
heard about
Apple and
Nintendo
Google
now.
did their. Yeah, the Nintendo support is not super great. The GitHub one is very good. I mean, I think WhatsApp. Pretty much everyone is getting on this bandwagon, and it's going to be good overall for just people in general. They're
I
just
mean, it
better
just-
than passwords. They're just
There
better.
is a point that we're at now that no password is secure. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I forget them all the time. Like, they're more secure from myself entering it than from somebody else. So
well, yeah. What I tell users is the good part about multi-factor authentication, right? It's something you have and something you know, and so
Yeah.
the something you have is really hard to crack.
Well,
And I just think that the whole world should move to that right now because we're at a place where you have a million passwords. People like to repeat passwords. My parents love to repeat passwords. So my parents theoretically maybe got compromised yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, listen, use that username. You use that username and password anywhere on the whole of the internet. You have to change it."
Yep.
well, and what it comes down to is that anything that when you log in, the user has to sort of take information from one place and put it in another. All of that stuff is so easy for someone to just phish, right? So easy for someone to trick you to just, oh, give it to me. I'm the tech support person calling. I'm Stephen Fry calling up to ask you for your password.
The most interesting one in a while came through work yesterday, the day before, and someone got an email with the Microsoft logo, with the Microsoft font, with a QR code to get through our content filters.
Yes.
So I was just like, wow, that's really
impressive right there.
advanced.
Really slick. And then they get on the mobile device, and the mobile device is not managed. So now you've got somebody trying to do a company login on an unmanaged smartphone, and where like maybe they don't really know what's going on, or not really going to be able to see the sort of clues as fast. Yeah, that the QR code phishing is like the hot new thing.
Yeah, that was like, oh, and so I write to the ISO. This is happening. Please send out a mass email, tell everyone, because this is bad news, and we're out of time.
Oh, we are so out of time.
It's okay. Hey, you know what? It's not often, especially like on this show, that we get a chance to have people just go at some IT terminology here. So
John wanted to geek
that's
out.
pretty cool. Yeah.
John wanted to geek out.
That's right.
All right. You know what? We need. I think we need an intro soundbite or something like that. All right.
And now the topics. Just
All
add
right,
explosions to everything.
Let's kick off this shindig, shall we?
Everything.
Yeah.
Pete, I love you, man.
Pete's just going to be Pete's got a walking soundbite. All right.
Pete is a walking soundbite.
So the first 2 weeks of the NFL season have finished, and there have been many surprises. Now, I'm a firm believer that we won't know the true identity of these teams until late October, but that doesn't stop us from talking about the current state of the NFL. There are currently 9 teams that sit at 2-0, with them being the Dolphins, Ravens, Cowboys, Eagles, Commanders, 49ers, Falcons, Saints, and Buccaneers. Conversely, there are also 9 teams that sit at 0-2, being the Patriots, Chargers, Broncos, Bengals, Texans, Cardinals, Vikings, Bears, and Panthers. I believe, by the way, last year there was only like 2-0 teams after week 2. I have to check up on that though.
Yeah, they didn't.
But
last
anyway,
long
so
last
in
year.
So 0-2 teams keep losing.
So everyone, what teams are we overreacting about after the first 2 weeks of the NFL season?
I think the Bengals are pretty much the biggest news in football right now. Joe Burrow's hurt. Joe Burrow's been hurt since the offseason, and everybody's shocked that. Right? Everybody's shocked that the Bengals are bad when Joe Burrow is hurt. Everybody's shocked that Jamar Chase doesn't have a lot of yards. Everybody's shocked that. I mean, it's like weird, right?
Well, Joe Burrow's hurt,
news.
right? Joe Burrow's hurt.
Joe Burrow's hurt.
He's hurt. He also didn't get any practice, no training camp, nothing. So he's
No
so
training
unprepared
camp,
for this
so-
season.
I feel like he does this every season. Like he gets off to a slow start and then he finishes off. The Bengals will win like 10 games in a row.
Yeah, that's why I'm not too worried about
I
them
hope
long
so.
term.
I hope so.
The Washington
If Brandon's
Commanders.
listening, hey Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon already dropped Joe Burrow, so I was thinking about picking him up, but I don't want to
Dropped Joe
quarterbacks.
Burrow.
Ooh,
Wow.
yeah. I would stash
Yeah.
him. You guys saw the bye week
Yeah.
before you'd have to play.
You got an IR slot, right?
Well, he's Saquon Barkley's already in my IR slot.
There you go.
Who actually reported today that he believes he has a high ankle sprain on Twitter. So fuck my life.
That's like 8 weeks right there.
Fuck my life.
Damn. So you're
We'll
talking about
we'll talk about running backs a little later.
2-0 teams. You're talking about the soon-to-be 2-1 Washington Commanders, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're currently 2-0. So there are 3 teams in the NFC East that are 2-0 right now. So far, John's prediction from last episode is right because by record right now, the NFC East is the best team or best conference in the or best division in football.
And the Dallas Cowboys are a frightening juggernaut of defense.
But breaking news came out today that Trayvon Diggs.
Oh, yeah. That
tore his
sucks.
ACL.
Dude, can we figure out a way to just pre-do surgery on everybody's ACL when they come into the NFL? Like, congratulations. All right, we're going to
reinforce it with titanium.
All of your
you can tear it again, though.
Use it.
Yeah, just... Yeah.
Well, what can we do about robot parts?
Yeah.
I want to know.
Oh, boy.
And do they need to have 2-factor authentication?
Well, absolutely.
I mean,
right?
right? Like,
to prevent interceptions.
yes. And
that seems like a legitimate concern.
yes.
I'm into it.
Is that what Josh Allen's problem is? He doesn't have 2-factor authentication.
Almost definitely.
Well, he just got it set up last week. That's what it was. The week 1, it was, still...
We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens with that. What about the Falcons 2-0?
Oh yeah, hey.
Bijan Robinson is all he's cracked up to be.
We if I recall,
he's like, God.
Oh, sorry. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I thought you were gonna.
No, you go.
If I recall, that we were all pretty rosy on the Falcons coming into this year, thinking that they could do some damage.
No, you weren't.
I thought I was.
Side note: Kyle Pitts is still a garbage player.
Oh, come on.
I mean, he's not good at football.
It's not that. It's not that.
They just don't.
The Falcons. The Falcons are the new Ravens. I swear they run the ball 80% of the time now.
Because Bijan Robinson is the real fucking deal.
Well, and they use Tyler Algier. I can't know how to pronounce that last name. He gets like 20 touches too. So what other team has both of their running backs get like 20 plus touches a game? That's a lot.
Yeah,
that is a lot.
Wasn't that the Falcons when they had? I don't remember who they had. They had 2 really good running backs, and they always touched.
Oh yeah, that was like Warwick Dunn, and I forget who the other one was. It was a big, beefy running back. Oh, this is gonna haunt. We'll get the research department on that. But it's amazing how, and we'll talk about running backs a little bit more later. That that teams are using the running backs as often as they want, and yet they're just not they're not high value. Again, we'll get into that a little bit later. How about the Cardinals? 0-2, almost screwing up their tanking by almost defeating the Giants. John, do you want to talk about that?
They
forgot.
Yeah, they definitely got a message from upstairs about that. Like, hey,
they're up by 21 points.
We're supposed to be losing.
Listen, the Giants also started to play football.
Yeah, for the first 6 quarters, didn't score any points.
Quarters, no football. But then the last 2 quarters and maybe part of this game, I don't know.
They're hanging on.
Some football. I mean, so the thing that I found really interesting about that game is that he spread the ball out. Isaiah Hodgins had touches. Jalen Hyatt had touches. Waller had some touches, but not as many as I expected. But really a very complete passing game, which is very unlike the Giants.
Yeah. Well, they attributed that comeback to Daniel Jones.
Yeah, they did.
Being
I think
actually a decent quarterback.
I don't actually think that they were wrong. I mean, maybe not being a decent quarterback, but he did very well. I think that the Giants' real problem right now, and you're seeing in this game too, they're playing the San Francisco 49ers right now on Thursday Night Football, is that the O-line is bad. Like, bad. The O-line is young, and they're slow, and the Cowboys took advantage of their offensive line. And the Giants lost 40-0. Like 40-0.
They got killed. It was like the varsity playing the JV
on Sunday Night Football in the first weekend of the NFL, and they'll never live that down.
I mean, they may be playing
whole season 2
of the best teams in the league in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's true.
Between the Cowboys and the 49ers. I mean, that's rough.
Yeah, preseason, even the end of last season, there were some real honest analysts talking about the Giants being a real contender. and I don't think they are.
Well,
Unfortunately.
They could.
I
Be
mean, what does that mean?
Though.
Real contender? Yeah, they're probably going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
What about so the last team I want to talk about, because we talked an awful lot about Baker Mayfield and how much of a garbage football player he was. Bucks are 2-0 right now.
Did you fucking see that sidearm throw that he made?
No.
He hit a completion getting tackled sidearm last week, and I was like, that's the greatest throw I've ever seen.
Baker Mayfield has a renewed energy this year. Now we'll see how long it lasts.
But I did say, by the way, that it is the best receivers he's ever had.
Oh, absolutely, by far.
And it's the best team he's ever been on. So maybe Baker Mayfield is a good quarterback.
No.
And that is we should end on.
There you go.
Wait. That is a truth fact.
No, I love it. That's
amazing.
So funny. Mark, do I have to ask a sports question now? I only have one other one. I guess.
No, spread them out.
All right, then I'm gonna
Do what every little heart desires. Will, by the way, you did a fantastic job of adding your own
excellent interjection
spin on that topic.
I know many things about many sports.
You know many things about many sports.
There will be no follow-up questions. Thank you.
Amazing.
So I'm going to start off with one of my favorite topics, AI. And so our new gift to our robot overlords is the mapping of human DNA. This is totally a good idea, you guys, right? So
what could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? And so Google's AI firm DeepMind is using AI to identify changes in human DNA that might cause diseases. DeepMind researchers believe they have already pinpointed 89% of all key mutations. 89%. The product, AlphaMissense, can tell if the 4 building blocks of DNA are in the incorrect order and pinpoint if that order would cause disease. Currently, before this, genetic disease specialists have classified 0.1% of letter changes of mutations. So, this is clearly a significant increase. It should lead to an immense amount of change or robots rewriting us. So, I've seen this movie, right? What does a world look like with all genetic mutations being able to be spotted before you're aware of them? And what's next?
In a world.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we've definitely seen this movie. We've seen multiple movies like this.
They never end well.
And AI is just the talk of the town everywhere. I mean, I mentioned it down in my real estate conference, how AI was the buzzword during this conference. And ChatGPT is definitely. I swear people are saying ChatGPT more than they're saying Google these days.
Yeah.
It's the thing that people want to talk about, and it's the thing that everyone says that everyone needs to get on board with too, right?
I think Google, by the way, though, is working on catching up, and I think it's through DeepMind in a way. I just
really
don't know.
Trying.
They are
Not through Bard.
Yeah, it's not definitely not their Bard.
Yeah.
Oh no! So Bard is a garbage product, right? It's very bad.
It's pretty bad.
The way I explained Bard to someone recently is it's like compared to OpenAI compared to ChatGPT, Bard is like a CS project that some freshman made. It's just like direct answers to direct.
Hello
questions.
world.
Yeah.
It's like a hello world project.
It gives actual bards a very bad name.
And when they released Bard, that was a great joke, Pete.
How many bards do you know, Pete?
When they released Bard, it got a question wrong directly. Isn't that the story? And Google lost $2 billion because Bard was a failure.
Much money.
Yeah.
So much money.
Yeah. Well, and so I think there's a lot of this hype, and I don't think there's just quite enough skepticism going on, right?
No,
so,
I think you're right about that, Will. Everyone, there's more misuse.
You hear all of this stuff, and this just happened, right? So I've been talking about it a lot, but at least 2 companies out there have been like, hey, we can now do 3D models through generative AI, right? You can go and you can give it a 2D sketch, and they'll come back with a 3D model. And turns out one of them for sure was just offshoring this stuff. It was essentially just like just a skin over like Fiverr or something, and basically it was just shopping these things out to skilled people in third world countries that were able to churn out these 3D models really quickly.
It's just like, wait a second, hold up, it's drawing it.
Yeah, and they were
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
No, I mean this is very like Wizard of Oz mechanical Turk, like right, like
Don't call him Igor. He doesn't like that. His name is Igor.
Is that what Adobe's doing with the new content-aware filter in Photoshop? Anytime anyone does that,
wait, yeah, it's
Firefly
even
is
worse.
fun as hell, by the way.
They were calling these people like quality assurance technicians, and some reporters interviewed these people, and they're like, yeah, we would take the thing that the AI did and throw it out completely because it was worthless and do it from scratch. We were ensuring quality, right?
Damn.
So yeah, so a lot of this stuff, like I hear all of these things, all of these statistics, oh, AI is doing this and that and the other thing, and I'm at the point where like I can't believe any of the press releases about this stuff. Right? It's just, you know.
Well, there's probably more misuse of AI going on than actual usage, right?
Or at least misconception, I think.
No.
I think, I mean, a lot of it is just straight up people lying about it.
Street people, yeah, and
right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, this is Web3 Bitcoin all over again, right? It's the same thing.
Right.
You know, if we just slap AI in front of it, we'll get investors.
Well, it's certainly filling NVIDIA's wallet. They are making a killing. Because, I mean, the crypto bros had to go somewhere.
so much money in AI.
I think the
It's
thing that
crazy,
really
the amount of
bugs me
hardware.
about generative art is that it's so incredibly bad at text.
Mm.
And
it's actually
so
it's
bad
actually
at
really comforting.
text. Right. It's so bad at text that if you put any words in anything, like generate a logo, if these balls can talk, it will literally draw gibberish on a
Oh, yeah.
screen. Like a 2-year-old. Like this with a marker. And I'm just like,
Interesting.
wow, that
Not like a
sucks.
2-year-old. Not like a 2-year-old. Like a, you know, like a monkey they trained to paint, right? Because
Mm.
that's all AI is.
Like a monkey
It
that trained
is-
to paint.
It is, you are training something to imitate what it thinks the average output looks like, and that's all it is, you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, in that sense,
It's
can
just
you
a
even
parlor
really
trick.
define
I mean,
it
it's
as
a pretty
artificial
cool parlor
intelligence?
trick.
Because it's not coming up with this on its own out of the ether, right? It's
No. I mean, I don't think that's what large language models and generative AI
No.
is. I don't think it's sentient or smart.
it's not
or
right.
making
It's not this
choices. It's
self-aware
just guessing.
There's no
digital
understanding.
soul back
right?
there. That's right. That's trying to.
It's
talk
not.
To
It's
It's
not
more
constructing a
of-
theory.
Right.
It's arriving at a destination, right?
Mhm.
you. Mm-hmm. And for that, I just
It's
call the
great.
whole
very
term
good at
love it.
pattern
overreach.
generation.
Just take
Oh, yeah.
every headline
Smart.
that's like artificial intelligence does this, and just be like, just replace artificial intelligence with a bunch of trained monkeys, and the headline will read better, and it'll be a more honest description of what's actually going on.
Well, there you go. What would it actually take?
Side note: the movie I was thinking of before is Gattaca with Ethan Hawke back in the day,
When
and
was
that movie
from?
was a great movie about genetic coding.
I think we all
Gattaca
knew.
Came
I think we all
out
know
in
what you were talking about,
1997.
but we're all old, so yeah.
I missed that
I
one.
love that
Really?
movie. I actually really
Wait,
love that
what?
The
movie.
left
You guys-
side of the
Side note,
if these
the
balls
two-
talk
the- I
quadrant
know
is-
Will has, but
is clueless on the
You
side.
guys haven't seen Gattaca?
I haven't seen Gattaca.
No.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, let's do a
Correct.
movie night then.
Is it on
Gattaca
Netflix?
is literally one of the greatest.
That's
Gattaca is
why.
one of the greatest sci-fi movies made in the last 20 years.
No
Period.
shit.
Hearts
I
Okay.
mean, and not only is it a good premise, but it's actually a well-constructed movie. Like it's an actual piece of film instead of
good.
yeah.
Huh.
No, it's very good. It would be an enjoyable watch even if like you weren't all in on the sci-fi aspect. And even then,
The overarch is that people are genetically coded to be perfect
Hmm. Okay.
most people.
with computers. Computers, and we're out of time.
All right.
All right. Who's got a next topic?
Who wants
Did we
to-
talk to Will about next
Oh
topics?
yeah. Will, would you like to introduce the next topic? Just be like, this is the next topic, or next topic.
And you can say it any way you want. Say it in
What?
the voice. You can say it in.
If you could burp it out.
Say the words "next topic" any way you'd like to introduce the next topic.
Yes.
So I can literally just say, I'm going to introduce the next topic.
Yeah.
You can say "next topic."
Oh,
You
Anyway,
already just did it.
You just-
that's where I was going, Mark.
technically.
He just did it, guys.
All right. Let's. well
right.
done.
So the AFC South made a lot.
I love beer.
Oh wait, I did not.
What's happening?
I just realized I did not change my script for this. I have the old script.
Uh-oh.
All right, so let's see if we can come up with something off the top of my head.
Okay.
So the NFL
You're a
recently.
professional journalist. It's okay.
I'm so professional. I'm not. Well, I'm not getting paid, so I'm an amateur. All right. So recently there have been
300
some
followers on Instagram, though.
Recently, there have been some big injuries in the NFL running back crew. Nick Chubb just recently tore his ACL. Saquon Barkley supposedly has a high ankle sprain, and J.K. Dobbins also had was it Achilles with J.K. Dobbins? I believe it was his Achilles.
Yeah, he's out for the
Big-
season either way.
Big injuries, and
I mean, J.K. Dobbins is always injured. That's not even surprising.
But this is just seems to be evidence as to why NFL franchises don't want to pay big contracts to the running backs when they seem to get hurt a lot, and also you can easily get a couple rookies for less than like $5 million or something like that.
Or a Tony Pollard just sitting on your bench. A Tony Pollard.
So everyone, do injuries to Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, and J.K. Dobbins prove why NFL franchises don't want to pay running backs the big money?
Well, the Nick Chubb one, and I wrote this question too, and because it's literally the biggest NFL news. And so I wrote down facts on the Nick Chubb contract. He literally just signed a 3-year, $36.6 million, $12 million signing bonus, and $20 million guaranteed. And now, I mean, and whoever hasn't seen the Nick Chubb injury because they didn't show it because it was so bad, it's bad.
I don't want to
knee
see that on
bends
replay.
literally the wrong way, right? Like the Robin Ventura injury in baseball a number of years ago, Mark. Remember that? Bends the wrong direction. And I don't know if they're saying it, but I mean, I don't know if Nick Chubb plays ever again.
It's amazing what they can do to rebuild that.
$32 million that the Cleveland Browns had paid to Nick Chubb that he just has, which is great for Nick Chubb, honestly. I mean, Nick Chubb got his contract so that if he doesn't play football again, he'll probably be fine. And Nick Chubb, by the way, is one of the best running backs to ever play the game. And he was a
slam the brakes. I slammed the brakes on that one.
Hold up. They did actually just compare, over his career with the amount of touches he had, he was third all time in yards per carry.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great.
I mean, he's been a Brown.
One of the greatest of all time.
He's been a Brown. It's not his fucking fault. The Browns are terrible.
You know who also was a Brown? Jim Brown, arguably the greatest running back of all time.
I didn't say he
have
was
as high
better than
yards
Jim
per
Brown.
carry as
Jesus Christ. Anyway,
that doesn't count. Jim Brown was like 5 feet taller than everybody else. When
the day after he got hurt, I listened to a radio show, and they said it's not surprising that franchises don't want to pay him. They're pay running backs. They're the only position where they are unprotected for a large amount of time, and that there are 12 very tall, very strong, very angry men trying to kill them.
Yep, they're the ones that are getting hit the most in the game, the one carrying a ball, right?
Can we discuss, though, that low chop tackle? And I mean, to me, that tackle felt very dirty. And maybe not illegal, but dirty.
I didn't see it because ESPN wouldn't show it later.
Yeah, there have been a lot of. I actually haven't seen it either.
Apparently.
There have been a lot of shows that don't want to do the replay because of how gruesome it is.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure if I go on YouTube, you can probably find it. For those watching on YouTube, you can probably look at it yourself, but not while you're watching this.
Minka Fitzpatrick on the Steelers, he saw that Chubb was getting away, and he kind of side tackled him with his body weight. And that was the thing that bent his knee the wrong direction.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I mean, this could happen to any skill player, like any receiver running after catch. As soon as they're starting to make a football move or whatever,
Yeah, but you think about that,
though. You don't have the defenseless receiver rule at that point. You can just hit them however you want.
The Justin Jeffersons are further away and have way less people around them. Way less strong people
yes, they're
around
in
them on
space
top
more.
of that.
Is it statistically a thing, though, where these running backs, not just getting hit more because yes, we know that, but are they actually getting injured more?
Yes.
Like seriously,
It seems that way.
It certainly this season, but is that
how many running backs have we lost
10 years?
in 2 weeks?
Oh yeah, no,
Well,
I fully agree.
These are the 3 big ones.
These are high profile backs.
Derrick Henry's hurt.
Remember what
Miles
happened with the
Sanders is
Ravens?
hurt.
Remember what happened with the
Everybody's
Ravens
hurt.
last year? Their
Yeah.
top 3 running backs all got hurt in the preseason.
Oh, I know, and a corner of theirs. It was like every day there was another CL that got broken.
Yeah.
Now, is that I mean, I think it's a comment on the fact that they're surrounded by linebackers and
I think
defensive
so.
tackles and men that are bigger than them. But is it also a comment on this whole grass versus turf question, right? And just they're in weird places and they're turning their ankles and doing crazy stuff when they're trying to make these football moves a lot, right?
Well, the non-contact
the gives
ones especially.
Yeah, Kyler Murray was a non-contact last year, but with the, I don't think personally, I don't think like real grass versus fake grass has anything to do with these ACL tears. I think it also has to do with the fact that these guys are also trying to lift more. I mean, think of how much people are trying to squat now. I mean, you see all these videos of guys like doing all these insane workouts now, and they're just with an insane amount of weight. And that's just putting some extra strain on those ligaments. And so,
I mean, right,
Yeah.
Javonte Williams, right, Quadzilla, right, and that's what they called him. He got hurt last year.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, the muscles get bigger, but the bones and the ligaments don't.
Right, the ligaments don't.
They're
Yeah,
just
the
under
muscles
that
get
much more stress.
The muscles are getting too big,
Right.
too big for the ligaments.
Right, it's like
That might have something to do with it. Yeah,
like your brain can will your body to do a thing, a cut, some kind of burst or change or turn, pivot with way more force than anyone used to be able to do with the same old things connected to it. That's just it just rips them right off.
But are the ligaments strong enough to hold that pressure?
That's what
That's what we're talking about.
That's exactly
what we're
what
talking
I'm
about.
saying, is they're not. Which is why I'm
It's
fully
like
an advocate
football
of
words.
pre-career robot ACLs for all the
I love
players.
it.
Oh no, I thought we
Mandatory-
were
just
going
add
a-
extra ligaments. Add extra ligaments.
No, I
Mandatory
thought we were
steroid
going
usage.
a different direction. No. You want to restrain your players, so that they can't put on that much muscle. You want to set them up. It's like veal, so that they're nice and tender, and they just won't.
Well,
They just won't snap.
What's the game they
Yeah.
play in?
They'll just bend and
Right.
flex, and
Just
it'll be
bounce.
fine.
Well, that's kind of
Yeah.
like the offensive line. They do that. They just put on like
What's
an
the game they
extra
play in
100 pounds.
Futurama? Blurns Ball? We could just all play
Right.
Blurns Ball.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
Love Blurns
No,
Ball.
but just put them in a tube for preseason. Just let them chill out. Much more interesting games, I think.
Like, why are you
Much
feeding
more
us so
interesting.
much
To-
lard and blubber?
To go from blubber back to Mark's original point for a second, just before we're out of time, this is definitely a
All right,
factor,
time.
but I don't think it's the only factor as to why running backs aren't getting paid. It's certainly a contributor, and especially this year, they're going to use it as an excuse further. Well, see, we shouldn't have paid anybody.
I don't know, Pete.
But-
I think it's a factor. I think it's a
Oh,
big factor.
I didn't say it
because
wasn't.
literally,
I think it's part of it. It's part of it.
I'm saying it's
literally,
not the
this
only
season's going to
factor.
do it, and last season did it. Many teams
Yeah.
lost their star running back and were fine.
Yeah.
They were fine.
If anything, that's the part of it, that's going to do it more.
It didn't impact them at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, it's a throwing league, man.
Yeah. I mean, teams who weren't paying Nick Chubb or Ezekiel Elliott money were doing fine with the guy they got off, the non-drafted guy who was, totally a reasonable player. It's like the what's the face, Mark, the guy in the NBA who can pass and shoot, who gets paid the league minimum, but is a perfectly acceptable player to be on your starting lineup because he can pass and he can shoot.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Matt McClung.
Like Matt
the
McClung,
slam dunk champion.
the slam dunk champion of America.
Oh, sorry,
Right,
man.
exactly.
Yeah, that's flashy. That gets paid.
But no, I mean, that's the thing. Who gets the money in the NFL right now? I don't think that quarterbacks are as streamable as running backs are in a professional league. I don't really even think wide receivers are as streamable because the star, like the players who make Madden right now are the quarterbacks and the running backs, the Justin Jeffersons and the Patrick Mahomeses. Those are the guys who make the cover of Madden.
The receivers, I mean, but yeah.
And Travis Kelce, who is the flashiest player in all of the NFL right now, and he knows it.
Especially with all those Taylor Swift rumors.
Right.
Hey now.
Hey, and on that, we are done. You want to do it again, Will?
Do some sort of segue into the next topip?
Yes, sir.
Perfect.
See, he's catching on.
Again, he did it again.
I got it.
Catching on.
What kind of show is this where I'm picking up on this stuff faster than you guys?
Well, that is true. I'm going to talk about something that I know Will likes to talk about. We finally reached the end of the current iteration of the Zack Snyder Fest DCEU, with only Aquaman, The Lost Kingdom, and Joker, Folie à Deux left. One I'm excited for, and one seems like the same old dribble with a plot-based decision to have less Amber Heard in the film. With the garbage fest Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice being the second highest grossing DC film of the 14 at $872.3 million. I don't think the franchise can be trusted at all. Do we have faith in James Gunn for phase 2 of this? And what is our favorite DCEU film? And maybe which one was the worst?
So I think we can believe in James Gunn. We've seen a little bit of what his effect has been on some of the movies, and definitely on some of the streaming shows like Peacemaker.
Fucking Peacemaker.
I actually did not realize that there was a sequel to Joker coming out, and I also did not realize that Zack Snyder was attached to it.
But a sequel to Joker. Hold on, let's just clarify, with Lady Gaga playing Harley Quinn. Which is going to be
that does sound amazing.
Incredible.
That does sound amazing.
Really cool, yeah.
Okay.
I was like, I'm in, son of a bitch.
Do I sound exhausted enough? I just it's just so tired. It's the DC lineup has been desperate for quite some time.
That's a good word for it, desperate.
I mean, they started desperate, right? Like they had a couple.
It's like, oh, we want to be Marvel
that they were building up to, and then bam! All of a sudden, it was Batman versus Superman, and people were saying Martha, and shit was happening for no good goddamn reason. Just all this stuff happened, and it's like, okay, we're totally off the rails. They're trying to play catch up with Marvel, which is not how you build a franchise. It's not how you build something that people want to watch.
Zack Snyder the fuck in. Rein him in. 6-hour movies. Zachary.
Also,
Jesus.
4:3 aspect ratio. Who does that anymore?
I gotta tell you, watching that thing on HBO Max during the pandemic was just like, all right, buckle up. This is gonna be fun, and it was like exhausting. It was one of the few movies where I was just like, oh shit, I have to take a break. This is the problem.
Well, I don't know if this is one of the episodes that you've listened to, but sometimes when I can't sleep at night, I put on a Zack Snyder film and then I fall asleep. It's like it's the best cure for insomnia.
So they're very useful then.
It's perfect because nothing in the movie furthers the plot along, so you don't ever get invested in it. It's just, I mean, it's like you're dreaming already, right? Just random shit is happening. There's zombies and people opening a safe or something. I'm on a different Zack Snyder film, but you get the idea, right? They're all the same. They're all the same, and
dark for no reason, angry for no reason, exploding for no reason.
I don't want to talk about any of the DCEU movies. The only thing I want to talk about that's DC is Doom Patrol.
Yes. I knew you'd bring Doom Patrol up. I love Doom Patrol.
Because it is the rare comic book property that treats itself with the correct level of seriousness, which is practically none.
Exploding goats. And different dimensions in goats' butts.
Yeah, and
that did happen, by the way.
Interesting.
I just saw the trailer for the last half of the last season, and the butts are featured prominently. It's going to be insane conclusion to just a completely off the wall
Guys,
show.
if you are bored on a weekend, watch the first season of Doom Patrol because it is delightful.
What network is it on?
Delightful.
Is it on Max?
It regretfully, it is on the streaming service formerly known as HBO. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm literally going to wait until the run of Doom Patrol is over, resubscribe for like the minimum amount of time, and then drop it again because I want nothing to do with that.
I'm going to convince the both of you right now, okay? George of the Jungle is a robot. There's a city that is sentient and gay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is so good. They do actually climb into a goat's butt and go into another dimension.
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, that's a thing.
You had me at goat's butt.
Yeah, and like that's
in the
actually like mid-tier weird. That's before we get into the sex ghosts and things like that. like that's before the show really goes off the rails. And I love it because it's just
so great.
It's just wild and it's all new stuff. It's not, the same superhero origin story for the umpty third time, right?
Yeah, Diane Guerrero, right, from like Orange Is the New Black, is she's the main like female character, and she is literally insane, off her rocker insane, but she has a power where anytime one of her alternate personalities come out, she gets their powers. And there's like 1,000 of them, so it's just they can do whatever they want in the story. They're just like, yeah, that's an alter. That one's the worst.
Nice.
That whole mechanic, right? That whole conceit reminded me a lot of Orphan Black.
Yes, very much like Orphan Black.
I love that show too.
And did you watch Legion, Will? On FX?
I did not.
In its small 2-season,
Nope.
She's very much Legion. That's exactly what she is.
But yeah. So Doom Patrol is more deserving of your time than anything except for the parts of Aquaman where Jason Momoa is just like running around saying
peeing on things.
Right. I mean, so it's Doom Patrol and then that.
Spoiler for Flash, by the way.
And then,
no, it's not Flash. That's Aquaman 1. He pees on things and he makes.
Oh, I don't remember that.
It. Yeah,
I don't remember that in Aquaman 1. But I remember that.
Some water. Let me get it.
I did see the Flash. I did see the Flash, and that was an extended scene.
Steph and I were just talking about watching Aquaman, but possibly.
Aquaman is very. Aquaman does good. Passable for the DC universe.
Again, it looks amazing.
It is a show.
As is Wonder Woman 1, not 2.
Yeah, first Wonder Woman was fine.
The second Wonder Woman, where she decides to jump into the air and fly. Literally, I just had to go away. I had to leave. I just had to leave.
What was Pedro Pascal doing that entire movie? I still don't know. I still don't understand.
I don't remember that.
He was the bad guy.
Oh yeah,
he was a rock.
Oh, that's right.
He was a rock.
Let's just not talk again. Spend your time, effort, and energy on the more bizarre things that DC has done because they're more rewarding.
Like Doom Patrol and Peacemaker. Peacemaker.
Straight up.
Anyone who hasn't watched even the intro of Peacemaker, just watch the intro of Peacemaker on YouTube and watch the Dancing Eagle.
Oh,
it's worth it.
Yeah.
The Dancing Eagle is worth it, you guys.
It's a good way to end that one.
Yep, and we're done.
Who's got next topic?
Good shows, man.
And
if Will doesn't have one, Pete definitely does.
Do I? Or don't I?
Have a next topic, Pete.
You'll find out in the next topic.
So it's time to talk about a frequent topic of this podcast, but with a little twist. So it came out recently that Phil Mickelson has bet over $1 billion on sports and has reportedly lost nearly $100 million over the span of 3 decades, according to a book written by professional gambler Billy Walters. Did you know you could be a professional gambler? Anyway, allegedly Mickelson, who is a professional golfer, for those that don't know, attempted to place a $400,000 wager on Team USA to win the 2012 Ryder Cup, for which he was a member of at the time. Now, the NFL has made lots of recent headlines in suspending its players, a minimum of 6 games for sports betting. And the PGA also has something called its integrity program that is supposed to govern its players, caddies, and anyone affiliated with them against pro sports betting. So, everyone, do we feel sorry for Phil Mickelson? And should there be any repercussions for him betting $1 billion on sports?
To your first question, no. I mean, it's money he spent. I mean, that's his choice.
You're like, we are not sorry for him. Done. Next topic.
Yeah.
Which is my favorite, by the way.
I mean, he lost all the money, right?
He hasn't lost all the money.
Well,
There's been kind of mixed things on, but I've seen that he's reportedly lost $1 million. But if he's seriously bet $1 billion, that means he's won more than he's lost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe he's just down $1 million after spending $1 billion, which I think would actually be a pretty neat accomplishment, right? Like,
it'd be a great accomplishment,
right?
Can we talk about the truth of this whole thing, though? Right? You asked if I am sorry for Phil Mickelson. You know what? Maybe, because it seems like he has a gambling problem.
He has said that he is a gambling addict.
And I mean, even if you're rich, addiction in any form is sad, right? And Phil Mickelson isn't like an attractive man. He's like kind of busted in the face. He looks
actually, I think he is a kind of attractive man. Like if you see him in person, he has got I think the greatest calves I've ever seen on a man.
Well, wait. So that's,
hold up.
That's a Wheel of Time reference right there.
Mark thinks that Phil Mickelson's calves are hot. Just saying.
Yeah,
I saw them in person. They're really this was after he lost a lot of weight and he was really tan.
This is amazing.
And, by the way, seeing professional golfers wear shorts is also kind of mind blowing because usually they're wearing pants. Usually they're wearing pants.
You don't get to see those well turned calves.
But I used to work the tournament that was the local tournament that was around here, and I would work the practice rounds, and on the practice rounds, the professional golfers could wear shorts. And I was at the tee, and Phil Mickelson happened to be teeing off, and I just caught myself staring at his legs.
Also teeing off. I understand.
Wow. This is obviously why they have to wear pants in the actual tournaments, because everybody would just be
I'm explaining why they have to wear pants.
Yep.
Clearly.
This topic has taken a turn.
I love this. This is way more interesting than him.
You disrespected Phil Mickelson's calves. But anyway, so should there be any repercussions? Because sports betting is supposed to be a no-no, and he even bet on himself.
Yeah, if he's betting on the event that he's actually in, that should be a no-no.
I think that the ethical repercussions of sports gambling are wrong, because if anything, right, like insider trading is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
people do it all the time, but
the time
there are rules against it, and it's because you shouldn't be able to wager money on something that you have a direct
it's a conflict of interest.
Well, I mean,
that's
insider trading, right?
You could say the same thing about owning your own stock, like the stock within the company that you're a part of.
I mean, but if if you are part of a company and you know that it is going to, let's say,
if you're going to sell the stocks,
if you know it's going to go public or go private, you're just like, I'm going to react to this information that I know, which is ethically incorrect, right?
Well, but there are very specific rules about that, right? There's very specific rules that sort of how do I want to say this? People that don't have $1 billion to blow on gambling are going to have to follow, because they cannot risk getting nailed for one of these things, right? For one of these ethical violations or SEC violation or anything like that. And I think we've seen time and time again that people with enough money are willing to just go, hey, what's a little SEC fine? Like,
this is why Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg are great friends, because they spend time in prison together.
Yes.
It's just like, the world is weird, and doing stuff that's wrong sometimes is wrong. It's why Pete Rose is never going to be in the Hall of Fame, ever. They'll never let Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame.
And isn't that a shame that gambling has become the worst offense you could do in sports?
Yeah.
Oh, it's way worse apparently than actual molestation or, you know, violence or, you know, never mind any of that, or murder, never mind that stuff. That's fine.
Steroids has become a close second, but gambling by far has become like the worst sin you can do in professional sports.
Like
It's something they can control.
I'm back on the murder. Is that why the golfers wear the gloves?
Yeah.
Like, is that what the white gloves are about?
Oh, yeah. You can't leave fingerprints, man.
Well,
Right.
there are a
dangerous
number.
weapons.
There are a number of NFL players that are suspected of murdering.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes.
Shout out to Doug, Tim, and my brother Eric about this. But speaking of murder and golfers, we did a.
I didn't like that segue.
One of the movies that we made. One of the movies that we made as kids was literally about a golfer named Lion Forrest. And who
Tell your story, Pete.
Who's famously murdered by his own 9-iron, and the whole. And of course, this happened in Australia, so that we could just speak with Australian accents in the entire video. But the whole idea was so that
commit a murder.
Yes,
this is my question.
So Doug and I were Australian.
It's a very heavy club. It's a very heavy club.
Yes.
But how can the 9-iron itself commit a murder? Is it sentient? Does the 9-iron walk around?
Who killed him with the 9-iron?
Was it the murder weapon? It was the murder weapon.
Right, it was the murder weapon. Yes.
So it was obviously one of those crabs. You guys have seen the video with the
I saw it with the
coconut
knife.
crabs.
I saw the one with the knife. That's dangerous, man.
No. Though I mean, you got to look it up. These coconut crabs, and they're just in. I think it's New Zealand or something, right? And there's the golfers, and the thing is just going through the golf bag, taking golf clubs, and just going like snip.
Oh, no.
Titanium is its bitch.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's the carbon fiber, and it's just going oh, these are neat. Click.
This is fun.
I love how this all started with sports betting, and we end up talking about coconut crabs.
Yes. Hey, we'll find a way to put crabs in everything.
I warned John that I was going to work the crabs in, and I got it.
I think I'll allow it.
I have another crab in the hole somewhere, but we'll leave that for later.
That's a great way to market this one, by the way, after the fact. Like, this episode is up. If you listen, you will get crabs.
I don't think that's a great marketing scheme. No. Let's just say, everyone, there is no way that if these balls could talk, will you give you crabs?
No.
Because it can't go through the phone.
I'm not sure we can say that.
I'm pretty sure we can.
I'm not that confident.
I mean, never say never, right?
Never say never.
I mean,
never say never. Don't deny our knowledge.
You know, you could have a live show.
That's the next step in AI when they somehow pass like STDs. You know, because I don't know. That's not the crabs you were talking about.
Will, can you give us a sarcastic next topic, please? I'd appreciate that.
I don't think so. Well, so the next non-crab related topic is what? What's the next non-crab related topic?
All right. So, I have shell shock from the bombardment of AAA games that have come out at the end of this summer, with Diablo 4, Baldur's Gate 3, Starfield, Final Fantasy 16, and Armored Core 6.
Too many.
With more than 100 video games released in 2023, including Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the reboot of Mortal Kombat universe with MK1, and an open world Street Fighter. How have AAA games changed in our lifetime, and what is the one you're currently enjoying the most? Also, what's your favorite game ever?
Ooh.
So I have to apologize immediately because this is the one that I'm going to work back toward crabs.
Yes, more crabs.
Okay. Back-to-back crabs.
we gotta have crabs in the title now.
Yeah.
Crab balls.
Crabby balls.
Crabby balls.
There you go.
That's pretty good.
Crabby balls.
That's pretty good.
Anyway, we digress.
Anyway,
go ahead, Will.
Let's get it, Will.
Oh, so I don't think I play AAA video games anymore. I don't play them for the same reason that like I'm just completely bored with like the big blockbuster movies. Like they just don't do anything for me anymore. There's these like overproduced things that I have to
because they are blockbuster movies, right? I mean that's the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
right, pretty much.
Right. They're $60 tailored experiences for 20 or 40 hours of whatever. And meanwhile, like the thing that's gotten the most playtime for me in the last month has been Brotato, where you play as a potato.
Can we talk about Crab Champions too while we're at it?
Oh, I mean, absolutely, right? That's how I was going to work that in there. Crab Champions is a single developer video game. It is this, and I didn't know this when I first started playing it. It's the same guy that made the Crab Rave music video that is.
That's where he got the model from. He only has one digital model.
Right. That's pretty amazing.
It's the same guy.
Yeah.
And he just built this little like extremely simple sort of it feels like a Quake multiplayer, like a Quake 3 throwback. And like that's the sort of speed that I guess I can handle these days for video games. Like I'm not in it for like some big long story. It's like no, I just want to blow up some crabs for like half an hour or 40 minutes while I got the time, and then I'm done, right?
That's fair.
Then you just walk away.
Mark, Crab Champions is really fun. To explain it really quick to anybody who hasn't played, it's on Steam. It's not expensive.
Crabs with guns blowing up other crabs and other demons and weird monster things.
Other mollusks.
Yes.
There's a lot of mollusks.
And floating skulls.
Floating
skulls.
I think mostly because the guy ran out of 3D models.
Floating rave skulls. Everything is very bright. Don't play it if you have epilepsy.
Extremely colorful.
Yes.
But just like that fast-paced, like plays like
exactly like Quake Arena.
Exactly
like Quake Arena.
From how many decades ago?
When you finish a level, you just jump into a portal and then you're in a new level. And this one has lava now, or something, or this one has ice, or this one has beaches. Whatever.
Can we get Pete's feelings? Because Pete likes AAA games, so let's get Pete's feelings.
Well, I do and I don't. I feel like there are so many good ones out there, and I just because there are so many good ones, I am like, and I haven't picked any of them except for Diablo 4, which, that one plays to my addictive tendencies in games, right?
I love Diablo games.
Those kind of grindy, item collecty, that's.
I was surprised at the art choices, and I haven't gotten to Starfield yet. One of the biggest game releases of the whole year. But I haven't gotten to Starfield yet, but I'm surprised at the art choices in Starfield. I thought it would be more realistic, and it is a little more arcadey than I thought when we saw it at Colin's house.
I'm curious too. I want to give that one a shot for sure. I missed out on the Baldur's Gate 3 train. That's kind of, I agree with Will on this one. I think it's
huge.
It's just it's too much. I commend the developers because it looks like they did an incredible job. Like they deserve all of the accolades and praise and respect for that. But it's too much for me. I don't have the time.
What I hear about Baldur's Gate 3 is that Baldur's Gate 3, I read an article recently where they are giving kind of invisible bonuses, and it was like Baldur's Gate 3 gives you cool hidden bonuses, gives you hidden bonuses like a cool DM would. And so for anybody who doesn't play, Baldur's Gate 3 is a direct D&D 5e, right from Baldur's Gate 2, uses all the rules, all the rolling, conversational rolling. So like you're trying to convince somebody to do something, you have to roll the dice to do it. Really good models, really good story, and so many hours of gameplay. I played early release for about 20, 30. I think I'm in regular release now for 20 or 30. I hear it's in the 90s. I mean, just like literally play forever.
It's nuts.
Yep.
Hey, Mark, you've been quiet. What do you like to play? Do you like to play anything anymore?
You know what? I don't really play video games anymore, but my all-time favorite video game console to this day is going to be my old Sega Genesis, of which I have because I found it in the last time that I moved, and I'm waiting to hook it up to my old TV.
Ooh, I wonder if it still works.
I think it still works.
Okay.
Can we take a moment, Mark, to talk about your obsession with every EA Sports game that's ever been made?
Oh yeah,
I don't have obsession with EA Sports.
So there was that.
All right, so one of my all-time favorite video games is not an EA game. It's Toe Jam and Earl.
I don't believe you.
Toe Jam and Earl.
I've seen you play. I've seen you play NBA Jams.
Games.
I've seen you play Tiger Woods Golf. You like those games a lot.
I do like the sports games, but one of my all-time favorite is definitely Toe Jam and Earl. I loved playing it with Dennis back in our RPI days.
Oh, yes.
Which I thought about. By the way, we probably should invite to the podcast.
Hell yeah, Dennis might be on the podcast.
Yeah. It might be a little late for him. He tends to be an early riser, but we'll try.
Mark, I give you that job. Reach out to Dennis. He can.
I
be
will
on
reach out to
October.
Amazing. Shout out to Super Nintendo as well. The Genesis.
Yeah, the SNES.
That whole generation was so much fun. Just because like the two companies just gave shit at each other all the time. It was like the
Nintendo
commercials
didn't care
were great.
about anybody. We're
Like,
we're Nintendo.
Nintendo.
Fuck pants.
That was Sega's whole thing. I love it.
We're Nintendo. We can tell Sony to go fuck off.
Yeah. But the Nintendo
Is that their new
versus Sega,
slogan?
man,
That should be their new slogan.
Well, no, that's what they did. So,
I mean, that's been their slogan for quite
a
some
quick
time.
video game history. In Super Nintendo time, Nintendo thought that it would be cool to have video games on these new technology called compact discs.
CD.
And so they contracted Sony, who was just kind of a cassette maker at that time. They contracted Sony to make a video game system, and Sony brought them PlayStation, and Nintendo.
This is in 1991, by the way.
In 1991, Nintendo,
like way ahead of their time.
right? So Nintendo looked at the PlayStation and said, "I don't think people are going to like this," and we're also incredibly concerned about people pirating it. And so you can just take that away. And Sony's like, "Well, we just spent like a bunch of money, like millions of dollars of R&D on this. So fuck you, and we're gonna put it out ourselves."
Yep.
And so they did. The history has happened.
And then they took Square and made Final Fantasy VII, whose famous marketing slogan was, "Yeah, this game would take 67.5 cartridges to play on a Nintendo system."
Right.
So,
And so to bring you where we are today, thank God Nintendo owned Pokemon, because they would not have been in business.
Save them, yeah. And now they're sitting on a big old pile of cash. Actually,
Well,
big old
I mean,
pile of Pokemon cash.
Pokemon and mobile, right? Handheld.
yeah. Well, the
I
Switch
mean,
has been great.
Oh yeah, the Switch.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, before that, remember, we didn't have the Switch, but we did have the Game Boy, and we did have the DS, and the DS kept them alive for many moons.
Yeah, what
3DS.
was the competition
That was
through all of that? I mean, there was Sega
Sony
Game
had
Gear,
Sega had Game Gear, and
Sega Portable. I mean, and it was great, but
PS Portable was a garbage fire.
It just didn't catch on the way Game Boy did.
PS Portable was a garbage fire.
the Game Boy was cheaper.
I have my old
Yeah,
Game Boy too.
Nice.
And we're out of time. We've been out of time for a minute.
You're out
So
of
We're out
time.
in a minute.
It's fun. I
You're out of
could talk
time.
about this
All right,
topic all
all
day.
right. I'm gonna do it from the soundboard.
Hey,
All right.
baby, do you want a next topic?
It's my favorite.
It was announced this week that ARS Pharmaceuticals was putting before the FDA an epinephrine nasal spray called Neffy that would rival the widely used EpiPen to help treat anaphylaxis. However, in a surprising move, the FDA rejected it and told them more studies were needed. Now, 4 months ago, the FDA Advisory Committee did recommend its approval, and it's somewhat rare for the final decision to differ from the council. In fact, according to a study done by 3D Communications from 2017 to 2022, the final decision differs from the committee's suggestion about 1 out of every 7 times. So everyone, how do we feel about a possible EpiPen alternative as a nasal spray?
I mean,
We're thinking outside the box, right?
I mean, it's a great idea. Who's going to be the first one to test it in an emergency situation?
So that was one of the things. So they're saying that, and they're very right, that they never test it on anyone actively going into anaphylaxis because it's technically it's ethically wrong to do that, right?
Yeah.
Like here,
How
like
do they-
so think of anyone with a peanut allergy that goes into
hold up.
anaphylaxis, have a
Right.
peanut
Let's
so we can
let's just
test
get
this
there.
drug.
Yeah.
How do they test it?
They don't.
Wait.
So how do we get through this critical barrier here?
They
sell a product that's untested? No, they don't. That's not true.
Well, they do other kinds of tests associated with it.
Like
I did not look into exactly what those tests were, but there were tests associated with it, but none of it is actually treating for anaphylaxis because you don't want to kill someone accidentally.
Side note, I know that when I take Flonase, it definitely doesn't all go in my nose. Because the nose is a weird place to take a medicine that's important.
Well, it's just open back there to, yeah.
I mean, I can see Mark's brain working. John, where else does it go?
It goes in your throat.
That's exactly what I was
fucking
thinking.
Connected.
Mark, I could read it in your face. I could
Well,
read it.
a little bit.
It's either that or John. I think you're using a nasal spray wrong.
I mean, yes, a little bit.
Yeah,
No, but like it comes out a little bit. You have to
That's
wipe
not
your
your nose, John.
and
In your eye.
If you breathe wrong, it goes down your throat. I mean, I'm drinking and I'm drinking an EpiPen. Like that just seems terrible. And it has such a stupid name. Can we talk about the stupid cutesy pootsy name for
You
something
don't like
that's supposed to
Neffy?
say? No, that sucks. Let's just talk about that for a second.
That's what the biggest problem is with this thing.
That name sucks. That name is a marketing ploy, and I hate it.
Well, I mean, they wanted something to be memorable against
Memorable,
EpiPen, 'cause
like
everyone
my
knows
dog?
what EpiPen is.
Yes.
What, your dog was named Neffy?
I mean,
I mean,
could've
now it actually seems like a pretty obvious
seems like a
choice for
pretty good
dog's
dog
name.
name.
I kind of like that.
actually.
Yeah. Hey, Neffy.
Come
Hey,
here,
come here.
Neffy. Come here, Neffy.
No. I was
Oh,
actually,
Pete,
I needed the
Can your
nasal
son
spray.
be called Neffy?
No.
It's terrible. It's a
Neffy
terrible
Stefan?
name.
Okay.
Neffy
No,
Stefan?
vetoed it.
It's clearly a girl name. Let's
But
talk about it.
what if that was sponsored? What if that was like free medical bills?
Hmm.
What if these balls could talk was sponsored by Neffy?
Right?
I mean, if a major pharmaceutical company would like to give me money to talk about their stupid naming, I will be down with that. It's fine.
Well, not with that attitude.
And I mean,
Neffy, come on. We'll take. If
at
these
a
balls could
certain
talk,
point-
sponsored by Neffy
at a
for
certain
your
point,
nose.
you give me enough
Yes.
money, I will squirt that thing wherever you tell me.
Exactly.
Be careful what
and
you wish for.
don't any of you tell me you wouldn't, right?
We'll all take shots live on the internet.
Shot a Neffy.
Sure, it's fine, right?
Bottoms up.
Gotta get a scotch and a Neffy.
Yeah.
That we could be having anaphylaxis. Like you don't know because we just fixed us.
All right. So think about the concept though of
Right.
something other than an EpiPen.
I mean,
I
it,
mean,
Maybe not necessarily nasal spray, but now because you're kind of choking on your own vomit, you probably couldn't do a pill. So you'd
Yeah.
have to do some other way to get this epinephrine in your
Yeah, but
body.
what's the value
Yeah.
add, Mark? Like
What's
why?
the value add? Because not
why
everyone
are we
knows how to use an EpiPen.
But
that's
why are
true.
we reinventing a thing that's been around for 20 years?
Well,
Ease of use,
you
though. I
want
could see that.
ease
as
of
a
use?
potential.
you want to have an alternative too, just because some people they'll look at an EpiPen as like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with this.
Hmm.
But so I think you need that alternative. Plus, you want to have some kind of market advantage too, right? You want to offer something that's easier to use, potentially cheaper, although probably not because it's a pharmaceutical.
Hmm.
That's
I mean,
probably what they're thinking
it's a
outside the
different-
box.
It's a different delivery system
Mhm.
that is going to be patented. There's money in that, right? Like straight up, whether it works or not, that doesn't really seem to factor into a lot of these things, sadly. But a lot of it is just, it's different, and because it's different, they can patent it. They can own that, right? So that's a reason to do it in a different way all by itself, whether it works or not. Unfortunately.
And we're done.
That was 5 minutes, or we're just done.
No, 5 minutes.
No, we're
Literally,
just
I looked down.
Did we
and
go on for 2 minutes about the name Neffy?
I
I
hope
think
so.
so.
That was the best
Slightly.
part of that topic.
Well, okay. And where John was putting his nasal spray.
So we're putting
Yes,
his
that actually did take up the first minute and a half. Amazing.
All right, give me a next topic. Do
Next
it.
topic.
Nice. So, and I'm going to say this one because it's a little timely. Unfortunately, this past weekend, a fan died at Gillette Stadium on Sunday. 53-year-old Dale Mooney passed away following a fight with a Dolphins fan. According to a report from CBS News in Boston, the autopsy showed that Mr. Mooney suffered from a medical condition that could have been a contributing factor in his death. I recently also saw a video of a pretty violent fight where a number of fans were restraining another fan and from the other team and beating him up. Pete and I also have a memory of being at a Bills game many years ago where a person fell off the upper decks, landing on another person and killing them.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
I don't
they
know if
walked
were
away.
Killed, but they definitely had brain damage from it. Like it was a serious injury.
How can we hope to improve safety and security at NFL games, or does the modern day gladiatorial event that is the NFL bring out the worst in people?
I mean, it's probably a little column A, column B,
Yeah.
right? And it probably also has the fact that there's a lot of hate going on in people. And, you know, when we drink alcohol, we lose inhibitions and all of a sudden nothing else matters, right? There's a lot of that going on, and it's been going on for a while too. I mean, that Bills game happened a while ago, and fights, drunken assholes are been at games for years.
Oh, yeah.
Watching some videos on like Instagram or TikTok of random drunk people at football games, most were pretty hilarious. So unless they start banning alcohol at football games,
I like the ones where people fall down. I think the problem, and not to say it's a problem, but the difference between, let's say, a football game and a baseball game or a hockey game, because you don't see this kind of real ridiculous behavior at a baseball, like an arena sport game or an MLB game.
Maybe you don't.
I don't. Where do you see Red Sox fans body slamming other Red Sox fans through?
There are
through
people
tables?
that fight at Fenway all the time for random
But are
reasons.
there people who stumble off of the upper decks? I mean, and not to say that specific example as an example, but I think that the large amount, like the modernization of the tailgate. I love tailgating, but the modernization of the tailgate, where you get to the park 4 hours beforehand and you drink as much as you can before the game starts, is poor. I think it's really problematic, honestly.
So that is probably a truth fact. The fact that
I love when
it
you say
is, I did that on purpose. So football is essentially has become an all-day affair where you're tailgating at 7 a.m, and you're obviously drinking copious amounts of alcohol as well.
Not to mention jumping off of RVs into a tail that's on fire.
That's a Buffalo thing. That's a Buffalo thing.
Okay, sorry.
So
that's normal, right?
So I will say now, other sports you're doing that as well, but you're just not doing it at the style of a tailgating. I mean, I definitely pregame before I go to a Celtics game or a Red Sox game. John, you've done some of this with me as well.
Yeah, of course. I'm also a responsible adult, though, and not every adult is responsible.
Not every. There you go.
Not everybody
you
is.
hit the nail right on the head right there. Not everyone is a responsible adult.
So, and I've got a question because I don't know the football history quite as much, but has football had its 10-cent beer night? Right, baseball has the cautionary tale, right? Like there's definitely lessons learned from that.
I think you need to pay $20 just to get on the line to buy beer at
It's so expensive.
Oh, yeah,
there's no such thing as 10 cents beer anymore.
Well, no, but 10-cent beer night was just such this.
Oh, that was a terrible idea.
I mean, right? But it was a spectacle, and it was a spectacle that was so spectacular. It's one of those things where, like, oh, there's rules now. Like, this is why you can't buy beer in
after the seventh inning of baseball.
Exactly.
And like
it's like
why we can't have nice
quarter.
Yeah.
Right. So, there's a lot of that. Here's a crazy one. What if beer were reasonably priced in the stadium? Do you think that would cause people to pregame less and be less excessive?
They would just drink more at the game.
I think it might be even worse.
You think?
I don't know.
You think?
Absolutely.
I have a question from a slightly different angle.
I don't think it would deter people from drinking less before the game. They're probably going to drink the same. They'll just drink more at the game if beer was reasonably priced.
What were you going to say, Pete?
Well, I was wondering if this kind of behavior is consistent with football in other countries. Right?
In other countries?
Like soccer's so huge. Those fans are so
they just
insane.
Like cars on fire.
People get in fights for
Maybe
different reasons.
Yeah, and they drink.
But I think that's part of it.
People die in other countries when they lose.
It's intense.
Soccer?
Yeah. Right, so this
soccer
is hardly,
hooligans are the real
This is hardly
deal.
an isolated incident with the U.S. Like,
no.
I don't think it's necessarily the sport itself. Like John was saying, football is brutal. It is gladiatorial. It's the closest civilized sport we have to gladiators. Like we just had a topic here about everybody's legs snapping into multiple pieces. It's insane. Everybody that has a career has CTE. So
you mean like Antonio Brown?
You put a 260-pound man in body armor, and he can run a 4.40, and he's a truck. He's a literal truck.
And slamming their head into another guy, which is technically illegal, but they still do it. Yeah, but are the fans that much different, right, than these other sports that are not as brutal? They're still intense, but I mean, soccer.
And some sports that are worse.
Maybe.
I mean, not to be like
The fans you're saying, or the sport?
The fans.
Okay.
Because
I talk like an un-American, like no fuck yeah. I don't know. It's just embodies the worst of us. I think that.
Well, again, how you lose your inhibition, right? No filter.
Yeah.
That is a true fact.
You're a fact, and we're out of time.
Amazing.
All right. I'm going to do it from the board.
You're from the board. It's time for the next topic, okay?
Quite possibly the most dangerous position in sports is the pitcher. Now this person stands 60 feet 6 inches away from home plate on a baseball field and 43 feet on a softball field. Now the distance when the batter makes contact is even less when you consider the follow-through, and the pace is usually harder than when the speed of the pitch itself. Pitchers are left in very vulnerable and usually defenseless states. Someone gets hit just about every game, and yet no changes have been made to promote player safety in that respect. Serious consequences can happen as well, even as recent as this past May, when Rockies pitcher Ryan Feltner was struck in the head by a line drive again in a game against the Phillies. He had a skull fracture and a concussion. Ooh. Now, we're not going to end on a sad note here, because Felton was able to return this past Tuesday and pitched 5 scoreless innings against the Padres. So everyone, how incredible is it for Rockies starter Ryan Feltner to pitch 4 months after getting hit in the head?
Damn.
I mean, that was obviously revenge.
It was revenge?
Yeah, absolutely.
I must avenge. No, for 4 months. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's serious head trauma. Holy cow.
So I was a pitcher.
What's concussion protocol in the NFL? Like 2 weeks?
Well,
Depends.
you know,
it could be longer.
You're supposed to go through a series of tests and whatever. There's no length of time. You're just supposed to pass tests.
But even after the tests are passed, there's still about a week delay. Then
I mean,
back in the game.
Sure, an NFL linebacker can't run 140 miles an hour. Like return velocity is up there. You know, let's say it's closer to 200 miles an hour. So, I mean, it's fast, but it's still a reasonably small projectile. I mean, did it crack his skull?
Yeah.
Skull fracture.
I mean,
fracture.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not the sports expert here, but I do think your average NFL player is just slightly better protected than a pitcher. No.
Yeah.
I mean, pitcher has no protection.
No, nothing.
I mean, they're not wearing a helmet. So you just got hit by a projectile going 200 miles an hour. Sure.
So I think that's the clear solution. We put pitchers
but it's
in
not pointed.
full NFL
They don't want to do it.
gear.
They don't want to do it.
No, we make them do it. We make them do it, Mark.
There was also talks about having a cage in front of the pitcher's mound. Pitchers don't want to do it.
Yeah,
pitchers don't want to do it.
That would invisible force
But
field.
it also
we haven't gotten completely
it completely changes the game. How many line drives go up the middle? I mean, how many of them? Imagine a blockage for line drives up the middle. It'll never fly, ever.
But I'm just thinking it from a pitcher's perspective. The worst fear a pitcher has is getting hit directly by a baseball.
Yep.
And it happens so many times.
Yeah.
I mean, so I used to, I was a pitcher, as you guys know, and now thankfully I did not throw it 100 miles an hour because in order to throw it 100 miles an hour, you're, in a lot of respects, your back is to the batter. You're completely defenseless in order to get the amount of follow through momentum in order to throw it that fast.
Right.
So it's just absolutely amazing. It's usually faster when it's get hit right back at you.
It has to be faster.
Yeah.
Especially
That's how physics works.
Yeah, especially when you're not in the pros because they're using aluminum bats.
Oh, right.
Yep.
And again, so this is the absolute worst fear for a pitcher is to get, especially hit in the head. And this guy came back 4 months.
I mean, that's incredible.
After it happened.
Yeah, that is absolutely incredible.
You don't really have me convinced, Mark.
There's a huge mental, like, again, that's your worst fear just came true. Think about your worst fear. Think about your worst fear, John, and coming true. Could you do the same thing again 4 months later?
I'm telling you, that's why I says it's revenge.
This whole argument is predicated on the fact that it's their worst fear, which I don't believe, and predicated.
What do you mean you don't believe it?
Why would you become a pitcher if your worst fear is to get hit by a baseball? Everybody who plays baseball gets hit by baseballs. Batters get hit by baseballs. Because you still do it.
You love the
get
game.
Hit by baseballs.
Exactly.
I don't think that's what's going through their mind.
Well, it happens more often. It happens more often to pitchers than it does anyone else. Because again, they're the closest one to the batter.
Is a quarterback's worst fear getting sacked?
In some respects, yeah. But they're protected.
I don't think so
either.
They're
protected.
Yeah.
They're protected.
I mean,
you're wearing pads.
Getting hit is such a normal part of a baseball game. Like, I got hit so many times catching with pads on.
You were a catcher.
No,
yeah, you were a catcher and you wore pads.
You know what happens when you catch and you're wearing pads and you're cut most to the side? The ball definitely goes on the dirt, and you definitely catch a 60-mile-per-hour curveball in the balls. Like, that happened to me 10 times. I still had kids.
But that's after it hits the dirt.
Wait.
So you just said that hits the dirt, so that dampens the speed a little bit, and
the velocity. Fucking fast.
It's still going pretty fast.
All right, but that's 60 miles an hour. That's 60 miles an hour versus like 115 miles an hour.
I got hit in the face with a
I'll hit you in the face.
Shut the fuck up. I got hit in the face with a foul tip, not wearing my mask like a dumbass when I was in high school. And I had a bloody nose, and I went and wiped my bloody nose off, and I played more baseball because it was fine, because it's just a fucking baseball.
Oh, and you also just
it's not a bullet.
Might as well be. It's 115 miles an hour at your head, John.
But I think the obvious question.
I'm gonna get a cannon and have it go 150 miles an hour at you. You're 50 feet away. You tell me you're not gonna shit your pants after that happens.
The obvious question, the one that we're not asking, is John, if getting hit with a baseball isn't the pitcher's greatest fear, what is it?
Snakes. Falling out of a plane, being naked on the baseball field, like actual fears.
All right,
I think those are mostly nightmares that you're describing, which is not the same thing. But I get where you're going.
Why is it gotta be snakes, you guys? Why is it gotta be snakes
on the baseball?
Get these motherfucking snakes off these motherfucking planes.
The reason, and we talk about this all the time for anybody else that's listening, but the reason I love this show so much is the complete disregard for topic, honestly. It's so fun to just go on a complete rant. It makes me happy. And
all right, John, let's say you had your worst fear come true.
We're done. We're done.
No.
You obviously offended Mark. That's what just happened.
I know. I just gotta get the popcorn out now.
John, you were not a pitcher. You can't fucking All right, fine. Next topic.
This is almost as bad. Might remind you when I thought I accused somebody of denying my knowledge.
I mean, no.
Oh, that was funny. That was funny.
Are we just gonna really do final topic as just a plain old next topic? Or are we gonna sing a song?
Completely unprepared for this. This was not part of my brief.
Okay. It's the final topic.
Now we're demonetized.
No, it's completely different.
Oh, okay.
It was like
we changed a couple notes.
We did change countdown to topic. So there you go.
Yes, right, exactly. It's a completely different thing. It's not the same at all. We aren't doing anything Europe. If you want to give us a call and be a sponsor, that would be
you could be our sponsor, actually.
I don't know if they could sponsor us. They probably don't have the money to sponsor us.
They're very old. Very, very old.
That could be a future topic.
All right, so let's get to it. 2 Las Vegas casinos fell victim to cyber attacks this past week.
Ooh, yes, they did.
Same hacking groups known as Alpha V and Scattered Spider breached 3 other firms, according to David Bradbury, CSO at Okta, a major identity management firm. This has cast a bright light on ransomware attacks that are on a sharp rise across the globe. MGM and Caesars, the casinos affected, have lost market value, and MGM actually is yet to recover various day-to-day operational services, room keys, slot machines, and a number of other things aren't working. With the most vulnerable portion of a company's IT security profile being its employees, how can they defend against socially based attacks like these? Also, What is the most convincing phishing attempt that you've ever seen?
Well, to defend this, I heard Will's got a pretty good product that he's.
I wasn't even going to go there, but so that's the thing, right? All of these attacks are not. I think I don't remember the who's who, but one of them was an employee, and one of them was a sort of an outsourced IT worker. And you just very nicely ask them for their credentials and their MFA code, and that's it. You're all set.
I left my token at home. Can we just use yours? Because I really need to get onto the system.
Now, the one thing that I missed from this was, what did the hackers get?
So one of them, I believe MGM, right, where they have all the disruptions, that was ransomware. So
both of them are ransomware.
So it was just ransomware. They weren't trying to. Okay, I gotcha.
So MGM, it was they actually disrupted systems, right? I mean, that's why people couldn't reserve rooms, hotel rooms.
Now you said it. You said it messed up. Yeah, the slots and whatever like that. Like so could people not use the slot machines?
The ones that were broken.
Yeah,
people couldn't get into their rooms. They couldn't reserve dinner reservations. Like the whole I mean, everything in a casino is computerized.
Oh yeah,
everything
absolutely.
in a resort is computerized.
So digital now.
They had people taking bets.
Days.
Pen and paper, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was a huge disruption. And the other one, I believe Caesars was, they stole loyalty program information, names, addresses, IDs.
But to get two major black hat groups, I mean, they're colleagues, right? At this level, when you're doing major ransomware attacks, you're a company. A lot of people work for you. Yeah.
Probably competitors. It's a very vibrant business scene. It is, seriously, all of this stuff is commoditized. It's pretty wild. It's just business.
There's a large number of state actors that are getting hacked. New York State, the OGS got hacked, and so the firemen and the policemen couldn't get paid, and so they were doing paper checks for a little while. This was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. My county, the county, Suffolk County records office. They do all the titles and things for property. Was on a pen and paper process for like a year or more.
I mean, from an enterprise security perspective too, when you think about it, you can't. Everybody who goes to work has this idea in their head that at work you're supposed to be nice, right? And so things like shoulder surfers, people just walking into rooms, walking into places they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You get that a lot. And I mean, like, so we had an audit company come in and literally just white hat the shit out of us and tell us all the problems that we had. I say black hat and white hat, good actors versus bad actors, right? But it's crazy.
It's really kind of who's paying them, but yeah.
Right, exactly. If they're getting paid to hack you, then they're white hats.
Right.
But the ransomware, literally, just if you give someone a password or you let them into a building where they can drop a USB stick, I mean, it's just so easy to hack a business right now for people who are organized.
Well, and mostly it is, it's not even hacking anymore. It is just asking very nicely and getting let in the front door, and they go, okay, it's great.
Great, thanks, I appreciate it.
Just
literally, like, you could walk into the front door of a building by just being polite. You could sit down at a computer that isn't locked and logged in, and I bet you could do it without even breaking a law besides being in the building. I mean, it's crazy easy.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just endemic, right? It's an easy way to make a lot of money.
Well, did you watch Mr. Robot on USA?
No, I haven't watched that.
So Mr. Robot talks about a lot of these things. Realistic hacking. I say it to a lot of people, but it's probably the most realistic IT based show I've ever seen. Like, they're not doing 6-screen graphical UI hacking. They're not flying through the digital world from modems in the bottom of Grand Central Station, right? They're literally just like on laptops. They're just like changing the temperature in buildings with Raspberry Pis. They're just like doing Unix-based bash hacking. I mean, they're just like doing real, normal, regular things. And so they talk about the fact that they literally just social engineer the shit out of businesses to get into them.
Sure.
And it's true.
Yep.
Totally true.
Damn.
Yep. And you get a foothold, and you once those attackers are in there, the statistic is some number of seconds or minutes before you've essentially lost control of your network, right?
Damn.
Like it's not yours anymore.
Mhm.
And I was just telling you, John, about that conference in the city. I just went to a conference over the summer, and they had ransomware negotiators there.
Totally going next year.
No shit.
And they were talking about the process of like, okay, you have to know what your cyber insurance says and what it does, and you don't want to be negotiating with them. Meanwhile, all the attackers are doing everything possible to make sure that you negotiate directly with them and you don't get the insurance involved, because the insurance is good at saving money on that sort of stuff. It's a wild sort of
The really
whole
pleasant
industry.
ones will give you nice little messages that'll say your files are locked. It'll give you a location on the dark web to transfer your Bitcoin. Really all very above board. You pay them, they give you your files back. No questions asked. Good job. Thank you for doing business. Here's your files back. I mean, and there was how many years ago there was a bad 0 day going around, probably maybe 3 years ago, where files were getting deleted, and so official like actual hacker organizations were fighting back against those because they're like, don't delete the files, then we're not legitimate anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my back at MTech, actually, an employee got caught in a phishing thing that did that exact thing. It was just locked everything on their hard drive and was like, pay this many Bitcoin and we'll restore it. I mean, luckily for us, that was not a computer that had many sensitive files on it. We had backups of everything to make sure you do your backups. So we were able to restore everything without paying them.
Also, most good viruses are
amount of Bitcoin.
recursive, right? And so most good viruses, when you get rid of them, they just come back. So you just got to burn the whole computer with fire.
We did. Yeah, no, we reformatted that shit. Right.
Or you don't know where these people are hanging out on the network. They just get in and they don't leave.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
you pay the ransom. You think you get rid of everything, and then like a couple weeks later, it's like, oh yeah, you actually did not evict these people. They're still there.
Yeah.
So,
and we're out of time.
Careful with
Sam Darnold is in the game right now.
What? What happened? Oh, because they're winning, and it's the end of the game.
Daniel Jones is a sad panda.
Oh, sorry, John.
So bad at football.
Well, to be fair, the Niners are amazing at football.
Can't beat any good
To be
teams.
fair, Pete, you ready?
I'm ready. I was born ready.
So that has been our 10 topics. We'd like to thank our guests for joining us this week. Thank you, Will.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Will.
Will.
thanks for having me. This was fun.
Please subscribe to us on this very YouTube channel or follow or like us on our socials at If These Balls Pod on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Our website is www.iftheseballscouldstalkpod.com. This is Mark Pesci, and for my partner John Campania and producer Pete Steffen, that's what we feel they would say if these balls could talk.
Goodbye.